What's up, everybody? I'm former quarterback Malik Rozier, and if football, sports interviews, and having a good time interests you, then make sure to click the like and subscribe button, as it really does help support this channel, and it also makes sure that you guys never miss a new video. How's everybody doing? And welcome back to another episode of the Malik Rozier Show. And on this episode, it's going to be solely directed for the University of Miami football program, as I am super excited about the news that happened last week. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first, Coach Mario Cristobal. And I'm really excited about what happened this weekend. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first, Mario has done a great job at winning in the transfer portal. I'm super excited. I've been on some Twitter spaces where I've said, I love the recruiting process. I love what, they've been doing. And I feel like, if we can get one or two receivers and a defensive lineman to really help, Coach Goodry stay in that too high shell, but apply pressure without blitzing, he really hit it on the head. So we're going to kind of go into these guys and we're going to start down the list. So first, we're going to watch some video on Tyler. If you guys don't know, this guy is a 4.240. That is blazing speed. It reminds me a lot of Philip Dorsett for, the Miami fans that have been around for a while. So we're just going to watch a couple clips. And as we go through this, let's talk about it.
Meet Grammarly Go, your go-to solution for getting quality work done quickly.
So we're going to go ahead and get into the film right now.
A majority of the snaps. Jordan Travis unavailable to
So
go.
the first
So
thing you guys are going to see, and it's one thing that I really love in terms of film. So the first thing that we're going to see and that I really love is the speed, the ability to, really take the top off of defenses. That's something that I felt like we really didn't have last year. Something that we really missed, when Brett Kyle was there, they had Phil Dorsett. When I was there, when I played, we had Jeff Thomas. That was a little bit of a blazer / Amon Richardson.
Louisville 4-5 on third down.
He gets you that guy that his teams kind of play off that. They're scared, hey, if we press him, he makes this guy miss. He's going to take it 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. That's what this guy really provides for us. And that's what, we need. You just need that one guy. Going for all the Miami Dolphins fans, think about what, how much success Tyreek Hill has added to, Tua, his ability to make defenses play off. And you had Tua and a Waddle, and now it's like you really have something that can be very dangerous. And, that's what I think this guy is. I think he's a threat. I think he's dangerous. I think that at any moment, he has the chance to really win. One thing I like about him too, one thing that I really like about him is that his ability to break away, create separation, not only with the speed at the end right there, but his ability to create it with the route. A lot of people that I know allow speed to dictate whether they know how to run routes. Now, what I'll say is, they always go saying speed kills, and you just get fast. A lot of people, yes, but the difference is when you get in college and you have DBs that are running 4.2s, 4.3s, and 4.4s, they're just as fast as you. So how do I beat them? Leverage, knowing how to run my route, knowing what coverage is to understand, what his discipline is and what he's trying to protect. I think this guy really understands, kind of like on this play. So I know that it's quarters, so the safety has no help in his run game. So now I need to get across. He does a good job of eating up all that grass. You know what I mean? So if he would have went higher, that defensive back would have had a chance to make a play. But the fact that he kind of flattened off himself and created that angle really allowed the quarterback to kind of keep him on his path. You see how he set the angle and kept it. So to me, that's really good football. That's something that, high-level IQ guys do, and they start to understand that, hey, if they're playing quarters, it's run action. I have the whole side of the field to run to. Again, there, look at the separation. That's what you want. You want a guy that, when he comes back to attack the quarterback, the defensive back is all over him. Look at here. They're off. And I know a lot of them is just how they play Louisville, but look at this. They're playing 2 over 3, and it's a 3-man side, but they got 3 guys to cover him. Most defenses don't play like this. And I'll say that, obviously it's a little different, but, his ability to make defenses scared is something that you really need, something that I felt whenever I kind of lost on Richards, there was some of that was taken out of it. More teams played us in press. Because I know a lot of times, more people like to throw into the boundary, especially if it's cover one man. This is versus Clemson, which is a good, testing the speed. You know what I mean? Look at that. He's out running guys. He's getting 20 yards after the catch. So this is what I mean by you need a guy with speed that can really, really help your team and really, strike some fear into the defense. And I don't think that, we had that last year. So kudos to, Mario, Coach Dawson, KB for really, really getting this guy as, I think he's going to be very, very important for us next year. So next, we're going to go into Tyler. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Kyle. So next, we're going to go into Shamar. So Shamar is another receiver. He's a JUCO guy. And I know there's some people that have some questions about him because, can he compete at a high level? Can he compete at, the high D1? I think this guy is really, really going to be able to. We're going to dive into his film some. So one thing that I like, and I'm going to pause it right here, is 18 game played, which is a lot. 76 receptions, 1,500 yards, which tells you he's getting yards after the catch. 16 touchdowns, which telling you he's a great job of creating separation in the red zone. And one thing that I really like is really the 76 receptions. That's big. That's a guy that, is averaging probably 3 or 4 catches a game. So I really think he's going to be instrumental to us next year. I don't know how much he'll play, but I think if he can grow, I think he will have the ability to get some playing time. For the guys that don't really understand spread offenses, the more depth that I have, especially at receiver, the better I'm going to be able to, run different combinations. And right here, we see his breakaway speed. So he does have some speed. And, I'm very interested to see, can he outrun our defensive back? Can he outrun guys, like Texas A&M, UNC, schools like that? I really think he's going to do a good job of providing Tyler some, I would say, consistency at the receiver position, as he does have a lot of receptions. But, my biggest thing is, can this guy create separation? I do like that. He's super strong, yards after the catch. I know this isn't a catch, but you can tell this guy is very, very comfortable with the ball in his hands. That's what you want. I feel like for me personally, Dawson's going to try to, as fast as I can, get this ball out of Tyler's hands into my receiver's hands and let them do this. Boom, split, make a play. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want. You want your quarterback to basically be like a point guard where I can just sit here, throw a couple quick games, get really, really good athletes that make people miss. And that's called easy football. Literally go back and watch Joe Burrow whenever he had, Justin Jefferson and those guys at LSU. He was throwing slants. He was throwing hitches. Every once in a while he would throw, the fades and things like that. But, for the most part, he was doing a lot of quick game, and those guys were catching it. He obviously was doing a great job putting ball placements so those guys could catch and run. But that's really, really what you want, is a guy that, I can throw a slant to, and the guy's able, to make a guy miss, yards after the catch. And this is one thing that I think this guy's going to do a really, really good job of, is his ability to track the ball and ability to make plays whenever he gets the ball. I don't know if he's going to necessarily just break away and become a track star, but I think he's going to be able to do something like that where he makes the first guy miss and he's going to get 5 or 6 yards after the catch, which is what you want. So like I said, man, really, really good with the ball in his hands in the open field, which I personally like. I don't know if his speed will be outrageously crazy, but I think he does enough to, definitely make a huge impact. And I think if he can, clean up his routes a little bit, which I don't think he's ran any crazy routes, but, I think that there's probably some technical stuff that KB is going to work with him on. If he can clean that up and, show his ability to be consistent, this offense shouldn't be too crazy for him to learn. I think they're going to be very simple and say, hey, we want to execute and, let you guys go out there and have fun. So I think he's a great addition. I mean, I'm super happy that, Mario and the gang was able to get him. So the last guy that we're going to go over is a defensive tackle who I am super, super excited that we got, Anthony Campbell. I know I spelled his last name wrong, but Anthony Campbell, 6'7", huge guy. If you're talking about a guy that is Coach Goodry's kind of guy, this is him. He's big. He's physical. When you're talking about a guy that can just really do a good job of plugging the hole, you see that he's splitting guys, he's slamming guys to the ground, he's nasty. That's what you want. That's my defensive tackle. Yep, that's what I want. I want a guy that, don't know when in the locker room want to mess with him. He's flying down the field. Look at him right there. Flying. Keep going. Yep, keep running. Yep, keep running. Yep, that's what you want. You want that tone setter. You want to come from the defensive line, No one wants to walk up to a 6'7" guy that just tracked down a small running back or a receiver, and now he's looking at, a 5'8" corner saying, man, you better cover him. I'm tired of running these guys down. Like, that's what you want. You want that violence, that quick step right there. Boom, get to the backfield, make a play. I'm super excited, about the addition of Anthony Campbell. I think he's someone that is really, really, really going to help us. Goodry is a guy that wants to blitz, but at the end of the day, if I can create pressure with my front four, that is phenomenal for my coverage. That allows me to have more guys in coverage. That allows me to create a little bit more zone coverage. Whenever you start to blitz, you either have to have what we call a void or a fire zone, which means now there's more holes in the gap based on who's blitzing, or, I have to just sacrifice for a couple more man and hope that my defensive backs can sit here and play man all day. So I think we'll have the DBs to play man, but, I think quarters is a better coverage for us, kind of a loose quarters that allows the ball to stay in front, us make tackles, but it still is a version of man. And I know that, Coach Goodrich Staples. So these additions on offense and defense to me are huge. I really love it. And kudos to Mario and the gang for, pulling these guys. And, obviously they're doing a great job in the recruiting trail. So keeping on the topic of Miami, what is going to be the pillars to success for them? And to me, I wrote down 3. Number 1, and it's always been there, even before I got there, fundamental football. In all the years I've been there, and even the years after, the biggest thing that I've always seen is when we play fundamental football and we don't have a lot of penalties and we don't have a lot of turnovers, and we legitimately just play sound football, most teams don't beat us. Whenever we have a ton of penalties, a ton of turnovers, a ton of missed opportunities, maybe it's defensive guys dropping interception, things like that. That's kind of where we beat ourselves. And go back to Texas A&M. We had the muff punt. I know that, I love him. I don't think that Tyreek meant to. So think about like the Texas A&M, I love Tyreek. I know he would never do anything, to sabotage a team, but that drop punt, it hurt us. And I know he's going to do a great job. Scratch that. So, when you think about times we've had penalties, times that we've had turnovers, times that we've had, missed takeaways, things like that, like that to me is fundamental football. That like if you do the small things, most of the time if you go back and look, most teams don't lose games, they give them away. When you're talking about 2 good teams playing each other. Now there are times, you got like a smaller school versus Alabama or something like that. Like talent sometimes just outweighs fundamentals. But if you have 2 even teams like an Alabama and a Georgia, you're talking about like Miami, FSU, Miami, North Carolina, you're neck and neck, talent to talent. Obviously we'll have some better positions. They'll have some better positions based on where we're at. But the difference is if we play fundamental football, then you allow, your athleticism to flourish. You allow, other guys to make mistakes. And so that to me would be the number 1 thing is, especially with adding a new OC and a new DC, is just fundamental football. I don't expect us to go here and go 12-0, but I do expect us to play sound football, to play fast, to make tackles, to, make catches, especially really easy catches, be able to hit the whole pass pro. So those are things that I think if we can really just lock down on, what is the basic? Let's go back to football 101. What are the simple things that, we might be messing up on? And then from there, you just kind of build and you build and you build. And so I think that, if they can do that for number 1, we'll be in really good shape. Number 2, young guys playing. And, I don't want many young guys starting. I think if we have young guys starting, we have a problem. But, when you go back and think about the Alabamas and the Georgias, if you're a young guy and you're talented, if you're not starting, you're implemented. You're in there on special teams. You're in there, with the 2s, things like that. I want to see some of these young guys start slowly getting playing time. And then, maybe by the end of the year, they're rotating in. A big example, again, and I've talked about a couple of times, is the Jaden Davis and Jalen Carter. Those were 2 guys that both got drafted first round, but it's young, talented guys that help older guys, push, but secondly, give them a break. Like Jalen Davis can't go all the time. JD was a big guy that needed a break. And, Jalen Carter was able to come in as a young guy that was super competitive, super talented, understood his role, and really, really compete at a very high level. So you need the young guys to play, but, I don't necessarily want like Francis and Sampson and Bain and all these young guys starting, but I do think that they need to start rotating in to get their kind of feet wet and get some experience. So the last one, this one to me, I think is the biggest, is trusting the staff. This is the 2nd new staff that some of these guys have gone through. Some of them even 3rd. So really trusting these guys, if they say, hey, this is how you run a slant, that's how you run it. If they say, hey, this is a new blocking technique, that's what you do. A lot of times people, they get set in their ways like, oh, like this coach told me this, or this worked better for me with that coach. And we don't adapt. And I don't think these guys have that problem. But, there's going to be times where you don't like a call, you think that something is better, especially from my mind, like a quarterback. There's been times where I'm like, well, I like this call better. So why am I running that? So, really trusting these guys saying, hey, like, you're the coach, I'm the player, whatever call you give me, I'm going to execute to the best of my ability. And I think that you're really getting that, especially on the offensive side with having, Dawson with the quarterbacks now, and he's really able to answer all their questions. I really think that, the number 3 is kind of the last part for me, but I think it's something that, whenever you're in a battle, whenever, maybe things aren't going as good because, there hasn't been really much adversity for them yet, do you trust your coaches? Or do you be like, oh man, like, I don't trust him. Like, he's teaching me wrong, or he's teaching me this and I don't like it. Like, or do you say, hey man, this is the technique, I'm going to do it. If they make a play, I'm going to say, coach, this is what you told me to do. Like, what do I do next? And then let the coaches coach, but don't do something that you think is right. And then the coach can't even adjust his play calls because you're not even doing the first proper thing correct. You know what I mean? It's kind of like doing math and saying, oh, 1 + 1 = 2, but you're really doing 1 - 1. And you're like, oh, it does not equal 2. Well, yeah, because you're not even doing the first plus part right. So we can't even figure out why the answer isn't correct. So that's a lot of stuff that, I really hope that these guys understand and they grasp. And I think that, the coaching staff is going to do a great job of teaching them the right fundamentals. So the last few things we're going to go over is the keys to the offense and the keys to the defense. So number 1, obviously I know a lot of people talk about the quarterback. We're going to leave him to the side, but besides the quarterback, number 1, Matt Lee, center. He is a guy that has to protect our quarterback. He is a guy that has to instrument run game. He is a guy that has to get 5 other guys on page at one unison sound, moving together. It's like moving like a herd of cows. He's kind of like the dog, the wolf that kind of keeps the pack together and keeps everything in line. So I think he's going to be really, really big for Tyler Van Dyke. I think that he is smart. I think he is physical. I think that he is someone that has earned the respect of the team. So I'm super excited to see how our offensive line proceeds behind Matt Lee. Number 2, Tyler Harrell, we talked about it, 4'2", 40, takes the top off of defense. You need a speed guy. You need someone that strikes fear. I think if we can get him going early and especially have him really, really producing for us, even if it's not, big plays, it can be 1 or 2 catches a game, but if it's a go or post, if he's able to run guys off, and you have Xavier Restrepo and, you have Shamar and you have Ray, and you have all these other guys coming underneath him. And a couple times, they do go that quarters look and we play action pass, or they go that cover 1 look and, we do call up a go route. You take that shot and he catches it for 60, 70 yards. It's going to change the dynamic of the entire game. So I think he's going to have to come in a big way more for taking the top off the defenses. And lastly is a Jaden Allen, running back. I think Henry Parrish will be our number 1 guy, but, our running backs got banged up last year. He's a guy that has experience. Obviously, he can add into the pass pro. He is a bigger guy. So I think that these 3 guys, if they can come along this summer and really implement into the fall, I think that the Miami University offense will be really, really good. I think we'll average 24 to 30 points a game. Obviously, there'll be some games we go below that. But for the most part, I think we're going to put up a lot of points. Tyler Van Dyke is going to have a really, really successful year. But, he's going to have to get these guys going for that to happen. And on the defensive side, Francisco Mauigoa, middle linebacker. I think this guy has to be the tone setter. He has to get these young guys going. There will be some young defensive guys that implement in, especially on the offensive line side. And so he has to be that guy that is solid, that puts him in the right position, that makes sure, hey man, you're supposed to be in a 3 and not a 1. You're supposed to be a 2I and not a 2. So things like that are going to be really important, and I think he has the leadership to do that. Number 2, Leonard Taylor. This guy has the ability. They have him projected as a first-round guy, and I think he definitely can get there. My biggest thing is being consistent, having that high motor, that high energy every play, and make them pull you out. If you have to tap your head, come out for a play because you've gone 3 or 4 plays 100%, I understand that. But, I think this guy has everything that he needs, and I think he's going to be a great, not only college player, but obviously a professional player. And hopefully, he can show the NFL teams that, I have the success here, the defensive line, to be a first-round draft pick, because he definitely has all the tangible tools. And last, James Williams. Obviously we know about Cameron Kitchens, number 1 safety, but this guy is going to be our boundary guy. This guy is going to be more of our box guy, especially in the quarters. Look, he's going to be the guy that whenever you try to do your boundary runs, your boundary RPD, your boundary RP. He's going to be the guy whenever you try to do your boundary runs, your boundary RPOs, that he's going to be that physical force that is there. So, at 6'4", bigger guy, and him and Cam, if we can get both these guys rolling, I don't really see defenses throwing a lot on us. So I don't really see offenses throwing a lot on us, especially if we can get James Williams going. I think our corners are going to be really good. I think the linebackers, I'm interested to see can they cover the flats, because I think that's where some teams really do try us early. But I don't think our secondary is really going to be an issue to me as much, especially if we can get a guy like James Williams going, because, a lot of teams are going to try to throw away from Cameron Kitchens. And so if you're throwing away a Cam, who are you throwing at? You're throwing the other safety, which is James. So super interested to see how he does. I think he definitely has all the tangible abilities. I think that he's in a really good system that is simple, that says, hey, I want you to play fast, I want you to play physical, and I want you to set the tone. And so I think that's the kind of football that he wants to play. So I am extremely interested to see how this, 2023 University of Miami team works out. I think that they will have a really, really successful year. And when I say success, I don't mean that we're going to go 12-0. To me, successful is being competitive, being in a lot of games. Obviously, I think we'll have a winning record. I think we'll end up somewhere between like 7-5 and 8-4. There might be 1 or 2 games that we lose that is going to go back to number one. But my point is going to be fundamental. So I think that if we have a really, really clean fundamental season, I think we can go about 10-2. There might be 1 or 2 games that slip away. That's a last minute. That's like, oh man, they just, made a play. But I think a lot of it comes down to, the key players. Obviously you had the quarterback in there, and you had Cameron Kitchens to the key players on, the O&D side, but you had the key players, you had the trust factor, you had the fundamental part. This team has the pieces to at least compete at a very, very high level, from the quarterback to the offensive line, to the defense, to your OC, to your head coach, to your position coaches. So I'm extremely excited about these guys. I think they're going to have a really, really good year. And if you guys haven't done it yet, please don't forget to subscribe. It really, really helps me. Also, if you guys can refer a friend, we're going to start doing some giveaways at the end of this month. I'm super excited to announce those giveaways. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.